Do you trust Washington and Wall Street when it comes to your money and the security of your retirement? If another market crash occurs, have you considered what would happen to your current retirement value if you lost 20, 30, or 40%? Are you looking for alternatives that could eliminate this risk of market loss and still grow your money? My name is Mark Maiewski, and I am Virginia's leading college planning authority. In my practice, these questions are always weighing heavily on the minds of my clients who have to pay for college and still save for retirement. So I'm constantly searching for answers to find ways to protect and grow their money without risk, which led me to Stephen Gardner. Stephen is a safe money specialist that lives in Salt Lake City, Utah, with his wife and 3 children. He's also a national sales trainer and speaker in the financial services industry. Stephen has often been heard saying, "I am on a mission to strengthen America one family at a time," and he is passionate about helping families get safe returns on their retirement funds. Stephen is also the founder of the Safe Millionaire Club. So I've asked Stephen to join me on the call today to share some of his insights and strategies that he has used with his wealthy clients in the hope that you too can become better educated to what is available outside of the stock market. By the end of the call today, you are also going to understand why one of Stephen's favorite quotes could be your key to financial success. He says, "Don't grow equity, buy it." Stephen, welcome to the call.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate the opportunity to be on here with your listeners and those that you've invited onto this phone call. I think we've got some incredible information and insight, most likely things that your listeners have never heard of before. So I'm excited to go through this and talk a little bit about that.
Excellent. Stephen, can you share with us why you created the Safe Millionaire Club?
Absolutely. I created the Safe Millionaire Club for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm big on self-development, pulling out of yourself the very best version of yourself. And the reason I love that is it makes you a better father, a better husband, a better employee, a better, servant of God or whatever your beliefs are. Being your best self is the best way that you can help improve the world, improve our country. And so one of the reasons that I started the Safe Millionaire Club is a little bit selfish. I want to surround myself with like-minded people, billionaire-minded people. And I knew that if I surrounded myself with people that were big into reading, learning new things, open-minded, believed that they could go out, live the American dream, make untold amounts of wealth here in America, that's who I wanted to be surrounded with. And so I created the Safe Millionaire Club with a little bit of a selfish incentive. The other reason that I built it is if I was going to take 20, 30, 40 years to build up a nest egg that I could live on for another 20 or 30 years, I wanted to have the best of the best strategies for growing my money. And the reality, Mark, is that we don't have that. We don't have access to that. We pay groups to manage our money, and they recommend to us whatever the head of the company recommends, or whatever is going to give the best commission. And I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in is what is best for me and what is best for the people in my club. And so, over the last year, as an example, I've spoken with over 500 families, and I have an intimate knowledge of what these people are up against. Many of them have lost significant amounts of money in the stock market, money that they were disciplined to put away, that they worked hard for. I don't believe anyone works harder than Americans. And to then see decades of wealth wiped out in a very short time, it is very sad. I'm sure that you see this on your end. People don't know what to do with the stock market right now. We just had an incredible year in 2013, but now almost every analyst I follow is saying that success is directly attributed to the fact that the Fed was pumping $85 billion a month into the markets. I mean, how could the markets not rise with somebody pumping $85 billion in? And it's just printed money. And so, I believe that we have another crash coming. I believe we absolutely have another crash coming. And, most savvy investors know, as they look back on the history of the market, that we see crashes about every 6 or 7 years. And we saw this in 2000 with the dot-com bubble and 9/11. You fast forward to 2007, and the real estate bubble starts to burst. From 2007 till the end of 2008, the market slipped by 52%. Can you imagine half of your wealth being wiped out in a very short period of time? And now we're 7 years out from that. We're in 2014, and people are starting to wonder: Is the market gonna hold up? Is the money that I've earned over the last 5 years going to be taken away again? And the reality is, the market drops, and so we have to be careful of not putting our money in unsafe places. So those are some of the things that drove me to create the Safe Millionaire Club, was to surround myself and the club members. They now get to rub shoulders and have access to other millionaires across the country, some of them multi-millionaires, others people that just have the goal and are working hard to become a millionaire. They get to rub shoulders and learn from the best of the best. So, to answer your question, those are the reasons why I started the Safe Millionaire Club, and it has been a fantastic ride, and we've got an incredible future ahead of us simply because of the information we have access to and the way that we protect and grow our money.
Stephen, what are some of the unique investments that your wealthy club members use that others may not know about or have access to?
Okay. That's a great question. Some of the unique investments that our club members have access to are institutional products. These are things that the average Joe American would not have access to, because to be in an institutional investment, you have to have over $100 million to participate. And so you have large institutions, hedge funds, banks. They have access to these products, but they don't make them available to their retail clients. And so you have to have access to a group that will give you a wholesale platform to be able to participate in this. Otherwise, you have the middleman eating into your returns. Okay, so one of the products or strategies that our group has access to is something called the collective trust, and then having that collective trust invest into life settlements. And so, what a collective trust is people collectively pool their money together to buy into an asset that would typically be too expensive for an individual to participate in. So some of the trusts out there might be oil and gas. The one that I find people are most familiar with is a REIT, a real estate investment trust, where people pool their money together to buy into commercial real estate or apartment complexes. And those are all good, but they have the ability to fluctuate in value. If the economy drops, property values drop. And so what our group does is we buy and invest into fixed assets with fixed values that do not change. And I think you'll agree with me that the life insurance industry is the most sound and stable industry in the world. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so what we're doing is a life settlement is anybody over the age of 65 that sells their life insurance policy on the secondary market. In 1911, the Supreme Court ruled that a life insurance policy could be sold as a tangible asset similar to a deed on a property. But what most people don't know is that they can sell their policy on the secondary market. And so one of the dirty little secrets in the life insurance industry is that 89% of all life insurance policies will lapse or cancel without payout. Okay? Now, these are traditional policies. These aren't the policies where people are strategically building them to build up money to finance things. These are not the policies that people are using to grow a large tax-free nest egg. Okay? These are pure death benefit policies. And the ones that we use are considered investment grade, meaning that they're usually $1 million or more, and they have significant amounts of equity. And so the group that we use, we buy into life insurance contracts from people that are in their 80s to mid-80s that for one reason or another, they don't want their life insurance policy. Maybe something medical has happened. Maybe they bought it to take care of their spouse, and their spouse has passed away, so the whole purpose of what they bought that policy for is no longer around. It might have been an executive key man policy that was part of a compensation package that was gifted to them upon retirement, and now the premiums have become too expensive. And so instead of walking away with the cash value or a lowball offer from the insurance company, these people are going to the secondary market because on average they can get 4 to 8 times the amount of money that they would get from walking away from the policy with the insurance company. And so, as an example, let's say that somebody came to our group and they had a $1 million John Hancock whole life policy, and they had $100,000 of equity built up in there, and John Hancock was willing to let them take the $100,000 and walk away. If they go to the secondary market and come into our group may offer them $300,000 or $400,000. So, as an example, let's say that it was $400,000. So we just created, by purchasing this asset, we just created $600,000 worth of equity. So we've got a fixed instrument that cannot change in value contractually for $1 million. We paid $400,000 to acquire that and to keep the life insurance premiums paid. So $1 million minus the $400,000, that gives us $600,000 worth of equity. Okay, so when I say to people that one of the ways to grow wealthy in America is not to put money into a stock or a mutual fund or investment where you're dependent upon the economy or the company adding more value and hoping and praying that that value goes up. Instead, we're buying something at a discount and we're walking into equity from day one. So instead of growing equity, we're just buying it. And an example of that is, let's say that you were driving the same route you always drive, maybe the route that you're driving right now while you listen to this audio program, and you come across a house that you know is valued at $150,000. You could absolutely sell it today for that value, but you see that it's for sale for $100,000. So you pull over, you knock on the door, and you ask the owner, why are you guys selling this at a discount? And they say, well, we don't need the house anymore. We've got a job in another state. We just need to cut our losses and move on. And you say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and buy this for $100,000 because I'm going to walk into $50,000 worth of equity from day one and make a 50% return on my money. Okay, so we're doing the same thing using this investment-grade life insurance, but we use life insurance because of the contractual values that cannot change, where real estate and stocks and mutual funds, they're all fluctuating on a regular basis. So that's what a life settlement is, and that's how it works.
Stephen, why haven't most investors heard about this before?
Most investors haven't heard about this because it's mostly been an institutional asset, as I explained. So Warren Buffett's group is one of the largest buyers in America, Berkshire Hathaway. They buy several $100 million worth of this asset. They now own billions of dollars worth of this asset, and it's a good performing asset for them. Merrill Lynch, Wells Fargo is also another big buyer. Most banks and large institutions and many of the hedge funds here in the United States and even internationally have quite a bit of their portfolio in this asset class. But again, they don't make it available. So if you called up Charles Schwab or Edward Jones and said, I want to be involved in the life settlement program, or tell me more about your collective trust program, they're going to say, we don't know what you're talking about. But if you go into their financial statements, if you get onto the Berkshire Hathaway annual statements, or you look up on lisa.org, the Life Insurance Settlement Association, which has been helping people with life settlements for over 20 years now. Wells Fargo is one of their biggest clients. I personally know the buyer of life settlements for Wells Fargo, great lady. But they don't make this available. And to be honest, why would they? If you have an asset that has regularly earned double-digit returns, and you can get someone to pay you an annual fee to happily receive single-digit returns, why would you kill the goose that lays the golden egg? You simply wouldn't, right? No one wants to give up all of their trade secrets, but in 1999, the SEC made this available to accredited investors and other people to buy into this through groups that do meet the criteria using a wholesale platform. And so the group that we use has a targeted return of 11% or higher, meaning that their goal is to do 11% or higher. And the way that they achieve that is by only buying into contracts that from the get-go will do 11% or higher. So let me kind of take a second to explain how that works, because many of the articles that you could send out to your clients, and they would be crazy not to recommend, not to receive a free packet of information about this asset class. But many of the articles are going to talk about a 12% return. Since 2000, the asset has averaged over 14%. The Wall Street Journal talks about how it's right around 15%. So the ability to make double-digit returns is pretty predictable and systematic. But let's go back to the example of the $1 million policy that was purchased for $400,000 and created $600,000 worth of equity. Okay, so let's say that there was 60% equity built into that contract. What that means is that is the locked-in rate that you're contractually buying into. And right now our group has contracts on the books that range anywhere from 40 up to 80% equity. And the time frame's a little bit different on that, and depending on the advisor you meet with, they'll be able to show you in detail. We won't go into that on this call, but let's say that somebody approaches us and asks us to buy their policy, and after we do the rigorous medical test and we send their medical findings off to 2 independent life actuary firms, and they come back and they give us a time frame of when this contract will mature. Let's say that it's a 60% built-in return, and they come back and say that it will take 5 years, sometime between now and the next 5 years. So we take the 60% return and we divide that by the 5 years. And what we get is 12%. So it's equivalent to receiving 12% in each of those years for a total of 60% return. So if you're buying into a 40% return, that's contractual. If you're buying into an 80% return, that's all contractual. That cannot change. The way that is affected is the time frame of when the contract actually matures. So to further explain and wrap up how the group does 11% or higher, let's use that same example. 60% built-in equity, but the group comes back and says, we think it's going to take 6 years for this contract to mature. 60% divided by 6 is a 10% return. Okay? Now, there's nothing wrong with a 10% return. Many people would be very happy to get that. It just doesn't meet the group's criteria, and so they would walk away from that contract. They would not buy the contract. They would not make that contract available. They only make contracts that will do 11% or higher available. Okay? And so these investments, they're safe. They're completely outside of the stock market. So an example, an example is in 2011, Japan had a terrible earthquake and a terrible tsunami. It was a terrible time. I remember reading the news about this. What most people don't know, and they can Google this, is that within 72 hours of that earthquake, the U.S. stock market fell by over $300 billion for an earthquake that happened halfway around the world. And so we're not wanting to get involved in assets or investments that can fluctuate depending on natural disasters, that can fluctuate depending on the jobs report that comes out or the consumer confidence report or what Apple has released recently or the economy. All of these things make the value of stocks and mutual funds fluctuate or drop precipitously. We're not looking for that. And so what we're doing is buying into an asset that has a fixed value at a discount. And so it's a good way to very predictably grow your money and know 5 or 6 years from now exactly what your account values will be because you bought into a contractual payout.
So, Stephen, most investors want to know what kind of fees are involved with something like this.
Yeah, the fees is actually something where most people are very grateful for the opportunity to be involved with us. I was working with a thoracic surgeon near San Francisco who had just over $1 million with Charles Schwab. And he was very interested in this investment, and he asked me the same question about fees. And before I went into that, I asked him, "What are you paying?" And he said, "I'm not paying anything in fees." And I said, "Give me a break, doctor. Nobody works for free. These guys, they're probably just not charging you, but they're absolutely taking fees." And he said, "I don't think so. I'm going to get back to you." And I said, "What you don't know, and everyone listening on this should know, they do not have to show you what they're charging you in fees unless you ask." And most people don't ask. They just simply take it off the top, and they take their annual management fee whether your account gains or loses. And so the next day, this doctor got back on the phone with me, and he was paying a 3% management fee. So he was paying over $30,000 a year in fees for them to manage his money, whether they lost or gained. I mean, can you imagine if he had gone another 10 years not knowing? He would have paid over $300,000 in fees. And so because of using a collective trust group and a self-directed IRA, if you're using a cash account, there are no fees involved in the investment. If you're using IRA funds, 401k, 403b, Roth IRA, SEP IRA, or a trust, there's simply a flat $125 fee for reporting to the IRS. Now, some people might ask, how can you get away with such a high-end investment without charging ridiculous fees? And the answer is our group makes their money inside of the investment just like the investors. So our group makes their money when the contracts mature, just like the investors. So the group has significant skin in the game to make sure that they buy good contracts, with good built-in equity, with accurate life expectancy predictions, so that they can get you to the contractual payout that your advisor will discuss with you. Now, that's incredibly unique to the investment world. I'll bet if you called your investment advisor today and said, do you have your money in the same place you recommended I put mine? I'll bet you 9 times out of 10 they'll say no. And if you ask, is your company putting money in the same place you recommended I put my money, they'll most likely say no. They're growing their money in different assets. You know, a good example is banks right now. They're paying 0.1% interest, at least here in Utah. Maybe it's better in other states. Maybe you're getting 0.3 interest on your savings account. That's not what the bank is making, I guarantee you. I don't care how much they complain about this low interest rate environment. Banks are making more money than they've ever made, and it's because they're paying such low interest to their clients. So to answer your question, the fees are very low. If it's a cash account, there are no fees. If it's an IRA or some kind of other qualified funds, it's just a flat $125 a year.
So, Stephen, who is a good candidate, and let's say who isn't a good candidate to take a look at a life settlement plan?
Okay, that's a great question. The people that this is not a fit for is this does not kick off a stream of income. So if you're looking for a stream of income, this is definitely not for you. If you are needing access to your money in the next 4 to 6 years, this is not where you would want to put your money. Now, that doesn't mean you wouldn't put a portion of money in here. You just don't want to put any money into this investment that you might need in the next 4 to 6 years, simply because in order for the company to keep their commitment and get you those returns, they need that money there to make the life insurance contract payments. So you keep your commitment, they'll keep their commitment. So those are who it's really not a good fit for, is if you're looking for a stream of income or you need access to that money. Now, the people that I have found as we've introduced thousands of people to this investment is usually it's people that have lost money in the stock market. They're sick and tired of losing their hard-earned money. They're sick and tired of laying awake at night wondering, will the market drop? Trying to calculate and figure out, okay, where, how's my money going to grow? Where's it going to be in the next 5 or 10 years? Anyone who's met with an advisor and says, we can get you 8 or 9% because that's what the market's averaged. USA Today just recently, this spring, released an in-depth finding. It was called 14 Years of Misery, and what they showed is that the stock market from 2000 to 2014 only averaged 3.5%. Meanwhile, advisors continue to tell people that they're going to average 8 or 9% returns. Now, unless you're in an annuity or a life insurance contract that has a floor and guarantees that protect you against money, you are at the whim of the stock market, and sometimes it giveth, and many times it taketh away. And anyone who lived through 2000, 2001, 2002, where we had 3 years of double-digit losses, or most recently in 2007 and 2008, when the markets dropped, that is not a good feeling. And most people can still feel the sting of that. Their money is maybe now just getting back to break even, but we're now 6 or 7 years out, and most people I speak with believe that there's another market crash coming, and so they're looking for assets and investments that are completely outside of the stock market, and this ends up being a very good option for them. So anybody that wants predictable, systematic returns with very low costs and wants to buy into something that gives you contractual increases versus speculative increases, this would be a great investment to look into.
Stephen, great call. Thank you for taking the time to share your insights today about life settlements and how they can dramatically improve a client's long-term financial success without the market risk or the whims of the economy. So if someone wants to get more information about the investment and the club, how would they contact you?
Yeah, they can reach out to me at 888-638-0080, and we can set up a time for them to go through that. They can also email me at safemillionaireclub@gmail.com or go on my website, safemillionaireclub.com, for additional information. I highly recommend that whether they're working with you or one of our other advisors, that you request the free packet of information. We've got more articles and information than most people can consume. And the reason that this has been so successful is a client of mine told this to me, and it really stuck with me. He said, the reason I've put so much money into this is it reminds me of what investing used to be like. You could understand the investment. You could do the math yourself to see how you were going to earn money, and you had a time frame for when you were going to get your money back. That's what investing used to be like. And now, with mutual funds tracking hundreds of different companies and stock markets changing on a nanosecond throughout every single day, it's just not as predictable as it used to be. And most people would rather have that safety and peace of mind to know how their money's going to grow over the next 5, 10, 15 years as they go into retirement, or as they're, maybe in retirement and just don't want the volatility anymore. But they're welcome to reach out to me. They're welcome to work with you and your group. And so I highly recommend that they at least take the time to request some articles and additional information so they can learn about this for themselves. And I've done this long enough to know that it's not a fit for everybody. But if you're looking for predictable, systematic returns with contractual increases, this is a great place to start.
Great. Thank you, Stephen.
Great. Have a great day. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with your group. Bye-bye.